I'm sure you heard about the strikes coming on the East Coast ports. There's far more to it than they're actually letting out. I'm going to show you in this video and prove it to you that it's going to be a lot more catastrophic than we really think it's going to be. First off, if you didn't know, it's affecting 13 major ports all the way from Maine to Texas. And it's literally almost half of all the ports that we have in the entire country. But there's more to it than just these ports also. Just FYI, the East Coast handles 43% of nation's imports, $3.7 billion of trade per day, one day. They handle 13 million containers per year, and they actually handle 56% of all inbound containers, more than the West Coast. And this is a battle between the International Longshoremen Association and the United States Maritime Alliance. And basically, they have a contract. That contract expires on October 1st. And if this does go to a strike, which nobody's really trying to negotiate on this, it's going to be the first strike they've had in almost 50 years. Now, they're looking at two things. Number one, they want a wage increase. Right now, the port workers are making about $40 an hour, pretty close to it. They want a 77% increase. And the second thing is, and I understand this big time, they want to try to stop automation from coming in. And manufacturers are saying, people who sell these goods are saying, we need to make this stop. So they are going to Biden and pleading, like Walmart, for example, Farmers Association, automakers, all pleading, Biden, stop this. And he's not. And there's a reason why he's not. I'm going to show you in this video, because letting this continue to go basically puts everybody in the hands that they want for the elites. And now we're going to see some major problems. And this follows what we saw in the West Coast port strike in 2008. It led to absolute automation, as we can see. And today, because of that, we've already lost over 13,000 jobs. So as preppers, how is it going to affect us? Because that is the ultimate goal of everything we talk about in this channel, is what you and I will have to do because of this. And obviously, we have to be prepared, and there's clearly going to be shortages. And the shortages that are happening because of this strike are pretty limited. I will tell you some of the things that are coming in. But even more importantly, I want you to understand that they're saying there's going to be two disruptions. First, a limited amount of items coming in for the holidays. And even though we may not actually care if a certain amount of holiday items come in, the companies do, because they depend on this, for Black Friday. And the term Black Friday is because they sell so much stuff throughout the year that finally on that day is when they finally have their numbers turn black, which means they're finally in a profit. And if we cut that down, we're going to see even more businesses, like mom and pop businesses, going out of business. And then secondly, we're seeing manufacturers and farmers having a drastic decrease in the amount of import of the raw materials they need. And again, when I get to the stuff that we're going to be seeing coming into the country, normally with imports, it's going to be stopped, and it's going to put a standstill some of our manufacturing and some of our farming. And it's the farming one I really want to focus on, because we see automation, but even more so, the farms are going to be suffering because of this. Now, this is very reminiscent. Remember in 2008, when we saw all the ships piling up at the ports out in the water, remember that? But this is also going to affect the trucking industry, all the people who drive trucks, because if there's not picking anything up from the ports, they're out of a job, perhaps. Think of it that way. They may be able to find some other stuff they can truck in the meantime. But now suddenly we have an overabundance of truckers, quote unquote. We don't. We have the same amount, but less things to haul. We're going to have a lot of truckers who are going to be going out of work because of this. Now, on a good note, oil and gas terminals have their own work crews. They will not be affected by the strike. And the Longshoremen's Union also said that they're going to continue doing everything for cruise ships and for military. How convenient is that? And I'm not talking about the cruise ships, but, military, we'll keep that war machine going. Don't worry about that. Specifically, we need to talk about what goods will be affected. And as preppers want to listen to this, some of the stuff on the list you'll want, some of the stuff, who cares? But give you an idea what we're looking at fruits, liquor, beer, wine, chocolate, canned goods, think about that one, cars, and then, of course, some of the manufacturing things that will not be coming in, or at least limited in imports, are lumber and steel. But there's a bigger picture here I need you to see. We import 39.4 million metric tons of agricultural products. That's 72% of all imports for agriculture in the East Coast. Yet, 46% of our agriculture is exported from the East Coast, resulting in 318 million in losses for farmers and ranchers. So think about this. Yes, we're going to have a decrease in imports of certain goods, especially going to agriculture, but the export. And we may say, you know what? All of this, we're actually looking at 80% of all poultry is exported on the East Coast. And you may say, oh, well, this might be great, right? Because less chickens being exported, more chickens for us. And that is true. But you have to understand the sheer volume of the amount of poultry they export. And if that stops, this literally could crumble the poultry ranchers and all the specific things when we see farms for poultry, all the grains going to them too, because understand that they're going to have to kill off how many birds because they're not going off. They can't continue to feed them if nobody's going to be buying them. We already see an industry or attack on the food industry as it is. We see attack on chickens. And now suddenly here's the thing where we see, wow, a major problem as far as we're not going to be exporting chickens anymore. This literally may be one of the nails in the coffin of the poultry industry. I don't think it's going away, but it is going to make it obviously even catastrophically worse. Not to mention also cotton, hay, red meat, veggies, and dairy are all exported. And if we're not getting the raw materials in and those items are not going out, the prices are going to plummet for those and literally is going to put a lot of farmers and people in the agricultural business out of business. So we know we continuously see our food industry under attack. I think it's completely orchestrated. This very well may be a part of that. What do you think? Put it in the comments below. Now, all the stuff with the East Coast, it is happening. By the time you watch this video, they may already have the strike going on. But we have to prepare because it's a lot worse than that, far worse than that. Because we're already looking at, just go ahead and roughly speaking, half of our imports are now stopped in America because of the East Coast. What about the West Coast? There's even talk on the West Coast now that they're actually considering a sympathy strike because of what's happening on the East Coast. And because we already see the automation happening on the West Coast, they're considering striking as well. And listen, as this happens, if Biden stepped in, we're going to stop this right now, then the actual people who handle the ports would simply say, fine, we'll go ahead and take the next few months and we'll go ahead and turn everything into automation. So the more this stalls, it's no wonder they don't want to bring it to this table and actually negotiate because they want to remove all people from this in the first place. And in the meantime, I don't know how long it's going to take to actually make all this automated, but in the meantime, we're the ones going to suffer because we are going to be returning to that day when we're going to have empty shelves on various items in the store. Maybe some items you need, maybe not. But understand if these items are gone, it's something you don't need, people will have no choice to buy this, and it's going to stifle the economy even more. We have big troubles coming because of this, even if it is just the East Coast, but it may be spreading a lot further than that. So, of course, as preppers, we need to stockpile, and we need to do this quick before it's too late.